Welcome to another one of my videos. We'll be going over some Buddhist sutras, and we can meditate upon all these and replay the video together. Before we go into the sutras, we will cover three things. Contemplation of the four elements, we immerse ourselves in voidness and eliminate the perception of living beings. Again, contemplation of the four elements, we immerse ourselves in voidness and eliminate the perception of that there is living beings. All that is that you think to be yourself and others. Earth, water, air, fire. You can meditate on the four elements. Like if you get lightheaded, it can be lack of air coming and going. Don't be attached to grasp. Or your leg goes numb. Feeling. Note it as non-self, as water, lack of blood circulation. Earth, etc. Then we go on to what the Buddha says. Don't grieve for what is non-existent. That's deep. Haha. Not finding any state of ownership, he does not grieve. Contemplate intention before an act. Give attention to whether it is greed, joy, love, etc., and whether or not it will bring happiness or suffering. Is this intention that will give rise to a certain act coming from a mind of love, of the four Brahma Viharas, of ignorance, of clinging, of possessiveness? Is this intention going to give rise to acts that will cause reaction, tension, suffering, and pain to others or yourself? Now we go over sense restraint, one of the sutras. Sense restraint. And how does a monk guard the doors of his senses? On seeing a form with the eye, he does not grasp at any theme or details by which, if he were to dwell without restraint over the faculty of the eye, evil, unskillful qualities such as greed or distress might assail him. On hearing a sound with the ear, on smelling an odor with the nose, on tasting or touching a tactile sensation with the body, on cognizing an idea with the intellect, he does not grasp at any theme or details by which, if he were to dwell without restraint over the faculty of the intellect, evil, unskillful qualities such as greed or distress might assail him. Endowed with the noble restraint over the sense faculties, he is inwardly sensitive to the pleasure of being blameless. This is how a monk guards the doors of his senses. So, when it comes to the six senses, do not grasp This is by Sri Paramahansa Yogananda. Right activity. Beyond the wave of your consciousness is the sea of God's presence. We will be seen on this stage of life again and again until we become such good actors that we can play our parts perfectly according to the divine will. Then the stage manager will say, "You need go no more out, you will have done my will. You have done my will. You have played your part, acted well. You did not lose courage. Now you have come back to me, to be a pillar of immortality in the temple of my eternal existence." Now, we go on to compassion and social action. Edmund Burke's line is, "The worst mistake is to do nothing because you can only do a little," which is the same line of Gandhi's. What you do may seem very insignificant, but it's very important that you do it. Everything is interrelated. It creates a rippling effect. Then my guru Maharaji says, A learned man and a fool are all alike as long as there is attachment and ego in the physical body. It's all just form, too. A doctor and a dropout are no different. I mean, sorry if you want it to mean something. There's no difference whatsoever. A learned man and a fool are alike as long as there is attachment and ego in the physical body. Now we go to the Buddha Sutra called the Nyana polanika. In this case of pleasant feelings amongst the underlying tendency to lust should be given up. In the case of painful feelings, the underlying tendency to resistance, aversion, should be given up. In the case of neither painful nor pleasant feelings, the underlying tendency to ignorance should be given up. If a monk has given up the tendency to lust in regard to pleasant feeling, the tendency to resistance in regard to painful feelings, and the tendency to ignorance in regard to neither painful nor pleasant feelings, then he is called one who is free of unwholesome tendencies, one who has the right outlook. He has cut off craving, severed the fetters to future existence, throughout the full and through the full penetration of conceit, he has made an end of suffering. If one feels joy but knows not feeling's nature, bent towards greed, he will not find deliverance. If one feels pain but knows not feeling's nature, bent towards hate, he will not find deliverance. And even neutral feeling, which as peaceful the Lord of Wisdom has proclaimed, if in attachment he should cling to it, he will not be free from the round of ill. And having done so in this very life, will be free from cankers, free from taints. Mature in knowledge, firm in Dhamma ways, when once his lifespan ends, his body breaks all measure and conceit. He has transcended. Now we go to dependent colorizing and the aggregates, the intellect, the verbal, and physical experience in reference to pleasure, pain, and neither pleasure nor pain. Birth is a dependently co-arising phenomenon. Becoming is a dependently co-arising phenomenon. Clinging and sustenance is a dependently co-arising phenomenon. Craving, feeling, contact is a dependently co-arising phenomenon. The six sense media are dependently co-arising phenomena. Name and form is a dependently co-arising phenomenon. Consciousness is a dependently co-arising phenomenon. Fabrications are dependently co-arising phenomena. Ignorance is a dependently co-arising phenomenon. Inconstant, compounded, dependently co-arising, subject to ending, subject to passing away, to fading, to cessation. These are called dependently co-arising phenomena. When a disciple of the noble ones, has seen well with right discernment this dependent co-arising and these dependently co-arising phenomenon as they have come to be, it is not possible that he would run after the past, thinking, was I in the past? Was I not in the past? What was I in the past? How was I in the past? Having been what? What was in the past? Or that he would run after the future, thinking, shall I be in the future? Shall I not be in the future? What is it become? What am I? What am I not? It's not a matter of knowing or not knowing, but being. There's nothing to achieve. You're already the fully enlightened being, but you don't know it yet because you're stuck at 5:30. How shall I be in the future? Having been what shall I be in the future? Or that he would be inwardly perplexed about the immediate present, thinking, am I not? What am I? How am I? Where has this being come from? Where is it bound? Such a thing is not possible. Why is that? Because the disciple of the noble ones has seen well with right discernment that this dependent co-arising and these dependently co-arising phenomenon, as they are, come to be. So you realize dependent co-arising phenomenon with becoming, clinging, craving, feeling, contact, the six senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting, the five aggregates, form, perception, feeling, mental fabrications and consciousness, name and form. They are all as they are, non-self, a set of phenomenon. You can be aware and take refuge and see them as they are, and when you do so, thoughts such as, I am not free, or clinging, or what is there to achieve, what impurities do I need to get rid of, all that ceases. It's not relevant. Stick with this realization. Breathe. Impermanence, non-self, suffering. And you will not be caught with the endless thoughts and perceptions that may come to mind. You will not be trapped. Sri Manama Maharshi says, the self is ever perfect. The mind thinks it is not. Progress is for the mind, not for the self. But it is important to remember these. Now we move on to the next. Dependent on contact, one speaking in this way would be speaking in line with what I have said, would not be misinterpreting me with what is unfactual, and would be answering in line with the Dharma. So, any Brahmins or contemplatives, teachers of karma, who declare the pleasure and pain are other-made, self-made, and other-made, neither self-made nor other-made, but arise spontaneously, would be sensitive to pleasure and pain otherwise than through contact. That isn't possible. When there is a body, pleasure and pain arise internally with bodily intention as the cause. Or when there is speech, pleasure and pain arise internally with verbal intention as the cause. Or when there is intellect, pleasure and pain arise internally with intellectual intention as the cause. When I read that, I contemplated and realized that pleasure and pain isn't just physical, it's also verbal and mental. If you go deep into meditation, pleasure and pain in the jhanas aren't even experienced. Neither is perception if you go deep enough. There is feeling, contact. Pleasure and pain without contact won't exist. And contact and all these aggregates exist because of ignorance and craving. So accept the aggregates as they are. No longer crave. Be dispassionate. And can release from birth and death and this cycle of samsara. But also, when you go beyond that stuff, one may rest only in the mental body and have a different experience. And when that is possible, you also need to realize that even though there's chemical changes and feelings going throughout the body, it's not contact, feeling like contact. Feelings are arising from the mind, mental qualities. If you know that, you will not misinterpret them as the body holds it as a sensation. It does not. The body holds this as a sensation. Feeling. But fear, anxiety, etc., with chemical changes, all that can be stopped or seen as they are, as mental fabrications and qualities. Control the mind, and those things will not be as persistent in pulling on you. I do not say that they will not come or arise, but you will not be trapped in them. Just like pain, we want to understand it and accept it, not to. The goal is not to get rid of it, although understanding it relieves a lot of it. It can get rid of it. So, we are watchful with the mental, verbal, and physical. We need to be mindful whether the physical is painful, pleasant, or neutral. You can do the same and note with the verbal, such as the words you were speaking. Painful, pleasant, etc. Are they neutral? These words right now I'm speaking are neutral. How you react is up to you, but same with the mind, such as thoughts. Is this thought painful, pleasant? Mental qualities that you think are the body's feeling contact. Are they pleasant, painful, or neither? Now we go on to another Buddhist sutra after this quote. If there truly is neither bondage nor liberation, what is the reason for the actual experience of joys and sorrows? Question mark. They appear to be real only when one turns away from one's true nature. They do not really exist. Now we end with two sutras. The Bhikkhu Sutta, the monk, on identifying with the aggregates, translated by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. Some people have said that the Buddhist teachings on the aggregates constitute his analysis of what we truly are, and that because the aggregates are impermanent and interdependent, we have an impermanent, interdependent self. This sutra, however, shows that we can be analyzed into the aggregates only if we feel obsession or attachment for them. If we don't feel these things, there's no way we can be measured, classified, or defined. At Saravati, then a certain monk went to the Blessed One, and on arrival, having bowed down to him, sat to one side. As he was sitting there, he said to the Blessed One, "It would be good, Lord, if the Blessed One would teach me the Dharma in brief. Having heard the Dharma, I might dwell alone, secluded, heedful, ardent, and resolute." Monk, whatever one stays obsessed with, that what one is measured by. Whatever one is measured by, that's how one is classified. Whatever one doesn't stay obsessed with, that's not what one is measured by. Whatever one isn't measured by, that's not how one is classified. The five aggregates are form, feeling, perception, mental fabrication, and consciousness. Do not cling to them. Do not identify with them. The sutra expounds, do not desire or attach to them. Attachment to things comes from paying more attention to the pleasure they give than to the stress and pain, dukkha, they cause. By turning your attention to the dukkha, however, you can gain release. Like, subscribe, comment below. May you be free.